The third installment of the season starts off with a flashback as we get to see how John's wife Evelyn passed away. Kayce and Beth are riding horses with their mom, and Beth isn't good at this at all, which makes her horse anxious. This horse's behavior causes Evelyn's horse to throw her, and it lands on her. Evelyn is badly injured and she immediately blames Beth. It's clear throughout this flashback that Beth isn't treated well by her mother, and Evelyn orders Beth to go get help because she was the one who screwed up. Beth gets on her way, and soon afterwards, John and his men realize something is wrong when Kayce and Evelyn's horses show up at the ranch. Beth eventually encounters John, but she isn't able to pinpoint her mother's location, so Evelyn passes away by the time the help party gets to her. This tragic event, combined by the lack of love by her mother and the feeling of guilt, is why Beth hates the ranch. It's why she left Montana when she grew up. Coming back to the present, Attorney General Mike Stewart gives Jamie a call about the fire at the medical examiner's office. Mike rightly thinks this looks suspicious, but Jamie points out the medical examiner's troubled past in Chicago, saying the fire could have been an accident. Jamie also makes sure to point out that he got Mike a cushy job, which he will start after his term as the Attorney General is over. Jamie is adamant about wanting to become the new Attorney General, but John instead focuses on getting Beth elected for State Assembly. This pisses Jamie off. Beth provokes him even further, and then Jamie explicitly says that Beth killed their mother. This is the anniversary of Evelyn's death, and Beth cannot let what Jamie said slide. She punches Jamie and tells him to be a man and hit her back. Jamie cannot stand it, so he does strike her. Beth argues that a real man would have walked away. Jamie eventually gets what he wants, his dad's support for his Attorney General campaign, but John also gives Jamie a stern warning about not hitting Beth. Meanwhile, Beth runs into Jenkins at a bar and she teases him and flirts with him, saying that she knows he's married and that's what makes it fun because she's gonna break generations. Jenkins doesn't know what he's getting into and these two chat away. As Tate and Kayce are driving home, they notice a sketchy-looking van. Kayce checks it out, a guy jumps out of the back of the van and Kayce shoots him. Someone else inside the van drives away and Kayce follows him after leaving Tate inside a drainage pipe to protect him from the scorching sunlight. The van crashes, the criminal inside it tries to run away, but Kayce stops him by wounding him first and then he uses a lasso. That's a good cowboy right there. The criminal's head lands on a rock and he dies. There's a girl inside the van that's been kidnapped and Kayce gently approaches her so as not to upset her. She doesn't want to call the police and Kayce takes her home. According to this girl's dad, Danny, she doesn't want anybody to find out what happened to her. Danny and Kayce recover the bodies of these criminals and bury them in the middle of nowhere, burning the bodies in order to trap their souls forever. What's happened to this girl is a real problem on reservations, mainly because of the jurisdictional complications. People do this on reservations and leave because they know that they have a good chance of getting away with it. The tribal police of course don't have authority outside the res, so they can't just go out there and investigate. Later on, Robert's widow and Monica's sister-in-law ends her life inside her house. Robert is the guy Kayce shot in episode 1 and this cycle of death and violence continues to ramp up. There are kidnappings, suicide and all kinds of crazy stuff because violence breeds more violence. Meanwhile, Rainwater gets arrested for stealing John's cattle. John visits Rainwater in jail and Rainwater thanks him for reminding him what it's like to be oppressed. John says Rainwater is far from being oppressed as he went to Harvard and got a gig at a massive PR firm. Rainwater responds by saying that his plan is to buy the entire valley for around $14 billion because after John dies, his kids won't be able to pay the inheritance taxes. Rainwater will just swoop in and quote-unquote erase the Duttons from history, just like how his people were treated. Of course, not all of that $14 billion will be spent on the Dutton land. Rainwater wants to buy land from others as well. In order to get out of jail, Rainwater has to give John his cattle back, and he does. Both sides now know the seriousness of the matter, as John was willing to get Rainwater arrested, while Rainwater's grand plan is to wipe any evidence of the Duttons ever existing. As we approach the end of episode 3, a construction crew miraculously finds the bodies buried by Kayce and Danny. This is unlikely to cause them any serious issues, but it is still a potential problem. Well, that about does it for this one. What did you think about episode 3? Leave your comments down below, like this video if you've enjoyed this breakdown, and subscribe for more movie reviews and TV show breakdowns. That's it for now, take care and see you in the next video.